It has been more than 10 years since the Obama Presidential Center was announced in Chicago, and we've got an exclusive announcement on its progress from the former president himself.
It's easy to look around right now and feel like the challenges we face are simply too big. But hope is not about ignoring the hard stuff. It is that thing inside us that insists something better awaits, if we're willing to work for it. Here on the south side of Chicago, hope is getting a permanent home. Starting on June 19th, you can visit the Obama Presidential Center, a campus with a world-class museum, a new branch of the Chicago Public Library, sweeping green spaces filled with public art, yes, a basketball court, and more. This is a place where a child from next door or across the globe can sit behind the Resolute desk and imagine how they could help create a better world. All week long, we'll honor all the people who've been with us on this journey, from those who helped launch our campaign, served in my administrations, and helped build the center, to all of you who want to turn hope into action. This is not a monument to the past. It's a living destination for people who refuse to accept the status quo. If you feel that way, this is your invitation to join us. Sign up to be the first to know about updates, events, and tickets at obama.org.
Joining us now, Valerie Jarrett, CEO of the Obama Foundation and former senior advisor to President Obama. Valerie, thank you very much. Jackie's got the first question.
Well, congratulations on this big news. What is the actual date of the opening, Valerie?
Exactly. Well, good morning, everyone. This is such an exciting day. We will open to the public on June 19th of this year. We are so excited.
Come on now. Blackity black, they said.
We're going to also, Jonathan, have really wonderful opportunities for our alumni, stakeholders, community residents, people who designed and built this incredible campus to have a sneak peek in the days leading up to the opening to the public, and an opening ceremony on the 18th, and then activities that following weekend. So it's an exciting time for us, and I think, as President Obama said, hope will now have a permanent home, and we hope people who visit will take that hope back to their communities and realize that ordinary people, even in these really challenging times, can do extraordinary things.
And it sounds like you are deliberately using the word campus and center as opposed to what we are traditionally used to, which is a presidential library. Can you go a little bit more into why you're calling it a center?
Yes, so that's a good question, Jackie. So yes, we will have a presidential museum, but we will also have a forum building with an auditorium, retail stores and restaurants, an athletic center, a Chicago Public Library, opportunities for people to come out and picnic on a great lawn and enjoy being on Chicago's lakefront next to the Museum of Science and Industry, nestled in Jackson Park. So it really is a campus, and having grown up on the south side of Chicago, what a gift it is to us.
So when things like this, presidential centers or presidential libraries, I was there for President Clinton's presidential library opening. There are all sorts of dignitaries who are there, who are invited. And so I'm just wondering, Valerie, is President Trump invited?
Well, as I said, this is really a chance for us to celebrate with the people who joined President Obama on this journey, the ordinary people who did the extraordinary things. So no, but I will say, I hasten to add that after we open to the public, should President Trump want to come and tour the center, President Obama would be delighted for him to do so.
That was a very heavy no, Valerie. This opening, it comes at kind of a remarkable moment in American history, in this administration. I know we don't need to get into the politics of this, but the country's at war, the rule of law, President Obama is a lawyer, the rule of law is under strain. And I'm curious what you think about a country feeling beleaguered, President Obama being the person who represented hope. What does it mean that this center will open under the backdrop of all of that's going on in this country right now?
Well, you know, as President Obama said yesterday when he spoke at Reverend Jackson's funeral, and I'm actually on my way to a service that he's having right in my own backyard at Operation Push shortly, it's at times like this that we have to remind ourselves that hope is hard. This is not something that you do during times that are light. Hope means you've got to dig deep and you've got to take the long view. And you have to realize that when we work together, just anything is possible. And so you're right, Eugene. This is a really challenging time. And it's a hard time for many people, not just in the United States, but around the world. And that's why it's more important than ever to have a center like this, where people can come together. Not everyone will agree. In fact, we welcome people who have differences of opinions. We welcome people who didn't vote for President Obama to realize that we can find common ground, even in these challenging times.
Valerie, you mentioned that the opening is going to be about the people that were on the journey with President Obama on the way there. President Bush, another living president. Is President Bush invited?
Sure. We work really closely with President Bush. And I often say that during the transition, and I was one of the co-chairs of President Obama's transition, President Bush and his team could not have been more supportive to us. When we had the country, the world experienced the Haitian earthquake, President Bush and President Clinton worked together on the Haitian Relief Fund. President Obama and President Bush worked closely to try to encourage people to take COVID vaccines. And so this isn't about politics. We can disagree about a lot of issues on policy or politics, but still work together. And we have a very close relationship with all of the presidential museums and foundations. And so they are all welcome to come. And we enjoy working with them, and we'll continue that work through our foundation.
A big example of that is, President Obama and President Bush were on opposite sides of the Iraq War. But as you just mentioned, Valerie, you are in Chicago. You're about to head to another service for the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm going to play what President Obama had to say about the late Reverend Jesse Jackson yesterday.
Jesse didn't just speak to black folks. He spoke to white folks and Latinos and Asian Americans and the first Americans. He spoke to family farmers and environmentalists. He spoke to gay rights activists when nobody was talking to gay rights activists and blue-collar workers. And he gave them the same message, that they mattered, that their voices and their votes counted. He invited them to believe. He invited us to believe in our own power to change America for the better.
Valerie, in the final seconds that we have left, your reflections on the late Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Well, I had the privilege of knowing him very well. Rainbow Bush is literally 2 blocks from my home. We stand on his shoulders. And I think the message of bringing everyone together and making people who are unseen feel seen, be seen, is a message that we all should take to heart in our day-to-day lives. And so I can't wait to celebrate his life and his legacy, but we honor him best by continuing that hard work in the days and months and years ahead.
We're going to have to leave it there. Valerie Jarrett, thank you so much for joining us and making some big news this morning.